This is the Freeheel Life podcast, episode number 92. I'm your host, Josh Madsen, coming at you from the Freeheel Life shop in Salt Lake City, Utah. And welcome back, my friends. It's the beginning of another fine week from the Freeheel Life shop. And I'm stoked to be here for another podcast and kind of start getting ready. I can feel it. It's coming down the pipeline. And ski season's not too far away. So to hop into this today, I brought my good friend Taylor Johnson to give us the newsroom and notes. How's it going, Tay?
Doing great. Stoked to be here. Newsroom and notes. Let's see what's new in Freeheel Life land. Well, we're going to be opening up the shop here in just over a month. October 9th is a Saturday. Will be opening day for the storefront this year. We're super stoked to get back at it. I've been working the last couple weeks and really starting to get back into the full-time Freeheel Life grind. We will have boots showing up first part of September, and rest of our skis, bindings, lifestyle stuff, all that good stuff will be showing up early October. So we should have a pretty stocked shop when we open the doors up again. Always exciting to get a new season underway. It's going to be fun. We got some good stuff coming to the shop this year. We've been hard at work on the Protector skis. Well, I should say Josh has been hard at work on the Protector skis all summer.
You guys have done a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah, I've helped out a little bit with that, but I would say I did most of the on-hill research and development. That was more my involvement, you did. AKA skiing, but
the fun stuff.
Yeah. But other than that, I don't think there's a ton of new stuff in our world other than days are getting shorter and opening day is approaching, so we're putting the hammer down and getting prepped for the winter.
Good stuff, man. I can't believe we're here talking about this. It's usually like into spring that we start, or well, I guess into spring, usually April. And I know you and I don't see each other for as often in the summer. And then we're always like, it's going to go fast, man. It's going to go fast. And then here we are. So
it always does.
September, here we are. I guess when we're listening to this, it's not September, it's August, but close enough.
It's close.
You get the point.
Couple days.
You get the point. Well, that's cool, man. Good to know boots are coming in. I guess one way people can get ahead on that too is we did build that notification thing on the site. So if for some reason you're listening to this and you're thinking, hey, I want this product, but maybe it's not on the website, there is a notify me when it's back in stock button on every single product. And that gets it on our if it's something you're looking for, or kind of as maybe a pre-order tool, because that'll kind of put you in the queue when it comes in. So
you can just pop in your email address and then you get an update when that stuff is restocked. Just because boots will be the first thing showing up for us, I would say it'd be worth getting your name in on that list, especially for TX Pros. We sold out of those this past year relatively early with common sizes. Just a good product, so hop on it. I would be, if this is the year to upgrade your kit, probably be wise to hop on it early.
This got me thinking about the first thing we should talk about. If we're talking about boots, and we always seem to be talking about boots when it comes to gear, in case you're wondering if there's a new boot coming out this year, there is not a new boot coming out this year. We have received confirmation from the Telemark gods. They have sent down the message from the highest place in the land, and there are no new boots. So we don't know when those boots are coming. So if you are thinking about upgrading your kit, you shouldn't worry about boots.
Yeah, someday this new boot will probably be worth the wait, and it will hopefully be everything we hoped and dreamed of. But for the time being, the reality is the products we have do what they do well.
It better come with a cappuccino machine built into it.
Yeah, something like that.
I hope the Italians are listening. So like you have like a little like thing, like where your ski walk mode is, like you lift it up and you can put like a little espresso cup in there.
Yeah,
and
for the after the like 3 p.m. espresso after a late lunch.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, let's start thinking big here, people. Like, everyone's talking about range of motion. I want my coffee.
Yeah, what other benefits can we get? I don't know. Somebody will probably. I bet you could build some sort of coffee machine out of an old boot.
I have never thought about that till you just said that. We should try that. Not like I have a lot of time to build coffee.
We have a lot of boots laying around.
We have a lot of boots. That's been a summer chore too, because we've been moving around stuff to make the ski manufacturing area, and then I cleaned out an entire room the other day with all the fantastic museum donations that people have offered us, and now I don't know where to put all that stuff, because I guess we're just gonna have to find the walls to put all that stuff on.
Yeah, I think we just got to go vertical, get it on the ceiling. We got a lot of cool stuff, and always appreciative of those of you that want to drop off gear or ship it our way. That old pair of 205s that you shredded, and bottomless POW and big lines on. If they're just collecting dust in your garage, hopefully they can live in eternal glory at the Freeheel Life.
I wonder if it's going to be cool. Like, what is that going to look like in 20 years from now? I mean, now people drop off the old stuff and it's like you get the wood skis occasionally, you get the 3-pin stuff. I mean, like in 20 years, are people going to be dropping off like their Outlaw X 120 underfoot skis? Like, man, these were the best back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, it must be like, it's hard to have that foresight of like what NTN 2.0 or whatever comes down our pipeline as far as equipment goes. But I don't know. I've got a couple pairs of Freeheel Life skis with Outlaws on them that at some point I'll probably be retired, just because I'm getting on our latest stuff. I think, especially with the Protector shape, I think that's one of the, I would say probably one of the better, if not the best ski that we've kind of built to date.
Yeah, for sure.
The old Switchblade, the old Rude Boys, and the old 801s certainly had a lot of good about them. But, after having skied all that stuff for several years, at some point, like, unfortunately, I think the ski kind of just loses a little bit of a life. I felt like when I was on that first pair of Protector prototypes this year, it was like that was almost the most noticeable thing of it. Was just like, it was just a new ski. Like the ski felt like it had some energy and had some pop to it. And, if you want to get more deep philosophically, maybe the ski had a little bit of soul to it. But after I probably got 200 days pretty close to on my Rude Boys.
Wow.
And it's like, I mean, they still hold up and you can still rip on them, but they just,
they just start getting worn.
Just lose some life. And I don't know. I mean, I would like some of my old skis, even if it's a Freeheel Life Rude Boy. That'd be pretty cool to let hang on the ceiling here.
I'll have to build like a new station for the ski build where it's like a soul infusion, and we'll just roll it through and inject it with absolute energy and soul before it goes out the door.
Meditation. Sondre Norheim, Sondre Norheim, Sondre Norheim.
Oh man, that's good. Those are going to be fun. Ski making's been pretty cool this summer. It's been quite the adventure. I mean, you guys come, I've seen you guys. Well, now I'm seeing you more, but that's been a large part of my summer is building the little factory here in the back of the shop. It's fascinating, man. I think
you've really got down and dirty with it. So
yeah, it's wild. Like, I don't think people, I mean, even us, I mean, we were kind of around, Todd, who's helping us build the skis, like you and I were around like the first 2 times we kind of dipped our toe in the water with it.
But it definitely wasn't as much hands-on with us touching and doing and cutting wood and, sorting the materials and getting everything put together.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's what's interesting to me. And I know we've talked about it a lot, but it's like, there's a lot that goes into making a ski. And the funny thing is like, of course these are, quote unquote handmade. We're doing every part of the process, but when you think about it, every ski more or less is made in a similar process, whether it's a massive factory or, us. So
yeah, I mean, I think even the big factories, there are a lot of the processes are really pretty similar. And, to some degree, I think every ski is sort of handmade.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, not total like robotic automation to build skis, but, so like, I don't know, I'm, assuming, the Blizzard factory or whatever, they've got a lot of processes that they can do huge volumes compared to, where we're starting with, more small batch stuff. But going through that process, I think, I think it's really cool just how involved we are with that finished product where, those of you that did get in on our pre-order, that first batch, and then we did open up a small second and third batch. I mean, those of you that are getting that first wave of those things, like you got there's some, blood, sweat, and tears into those from, a lot of Madsen, but, some of the guys have come and helped us with a few of the processes. But
yeah, you guys bent edges. I mean, we put sidewall on together.
Yeah, I mean, going through that whole process was like, super interesting for me to just see and start, it kind of changes the way the brain thinks about a finished product of all the steps, that go into building that. But I know it's going to be a satisfying day when, you get on a pair of the production versions, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think that connection to the build, to actually selling that product to the people, and having had those people in mind when we made the ski itself and tested it, to me, that's going to be the coolest part, because that really does like connect us in a different way, with the product that's going out the door and the people that are using it. And I'm excited for that. I think it's just, it really is. It's a real new step, I think, for Freeheel Life, building something that's, by the people, for the people kind of concept, like we always say, I mean, I think the reason we've done well, like, is we get to know people at the shop is because, we generally know what we're talking about, and if we don't, we try to really understand like where people are coming from with their gear and try to have those experiences ourselves. So
yeah, 100%. I mean, all the kind of data that, we get on a firsthand account of just dealing with all of you free healers out there, whether you're coming into the store in Salt Lake City or talking to us on the phone or emailing us, we've kind of built this picture of what someone was looking for. And I think, with this first wave of protectors we were happy with where the prototypes went. So it's like we committed to that for the production run. But all of you that pre-ordered it, you guys haven't been on them. So it's cool that you guys are willing to trust our opinion or have belief in what the Freeheel Life products are. We'll always be grateful for that support of that first wave of people. And, hopefully for the 2022 versions of the skis or 2023 versions or, whatever, if we make little changes here and there, hopefully those are for the better. But it's, someone that might get on a pair of 2022 protectors, you're probably going to have an opportunity to get those things on the snow. So, nothing bad about that. If you wait till the second generation before you could actually get them on snow before you go for a pair of protectors, that's fine. But it is cool that everybody that's going for that first wave of these, just was willing to trust us with that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because it is mind blowing. I mean, I look at the stack of stuff downstairs right now. We've got all the boxes with people's names on them and kind of the layup sheets, so we've got a checklist of all the parts that is a really cool. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because that's a cool part of this. I mean, literally we couldn't build these had people not just believed in the concept of what we did. And, yeah, that's a big part of this, man. That's good. I'm glad you brought that up. That's pretty cool. I mean, I think that's been the biggest thing for me this summer. It's like, this is like going back to the beginning of Freeheel Life, and in the sense of every single step has got to be built in order to do the next step of the process. And for me, that's super satisfying because it's literally like I was say, I always just say, build it up, you got to like brick by brick. I mean, this is literally like, there's so many little processes, I think you look at skis, and I know even me being around it this long, you look at a pair of skis and you're like, yeah, I realize it takes some time to do this, but then you start doing it and you're like, whoa, all right, there's like little teeny pieces of the puzzle, and you got to have a table to do it on, or you got to have this specific tool. I've become a tool guy, which is really weird because I'm not a tool guy. I never understood the guys that were like all about their tools. Now I guess that
probably just changes just because you have that inner like intimate connection with getting to a finished product. It's like you're going to go through those processes and figure out with this tool it's slightly better. And I think it's been cool to see that process of kind of getting this ski factory, put together. Is we're trying to look further out. You've tried to set up these stations to, cut cores, to glue cores, to glue sidewall, to go through all this process so that, it's maybe not like totally future proof. Like at some point it'd be cool if the volume that we're doing with Freeheel Life skis requires another wave of kind of reimagination of how the factory processes go. But it's not like you were doing this just for one pair of skis. You're trying to do this so that we can produce these for, Telemark skiers, because we believe that you guys are out there and we believe that we can build a product that you guys will be into. So looking forward and being able to, okay, this is how we can, increase some of the just little efficiencies so that ultimately we can get more people on our stuff. Because, I know how much fun I had on that product, and I know what that product did for me as a Telemark skier. And to a certain degree, I want to share that with others and get them on a product that, can provide the same amount of smiles it put on my face. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that brings me to the thing we were talking about yesterday, that, something that's interesting is everybody always, we were talking about people kind of going, oh, you're making a Telemark ski. And I think really the coolest part about this is, and this has kind of always been our philosophy, but I think it's easy to get lost in the mix because people are like, well, you're a Telemark company. You're obviously going to make Telemark skis. But I think what we really tried to set out to do is first make a great ski, and second of all, take into account what features are great for Telemark skiers, but ultimately make a great ski. And, we're not making enough where like you're going to be able to find these at, your local ski shop. I mean, these are coming out of here at this point. But, like you said, it's building processes so we can make more and more skis. And, like I told you yesterday, I would love to see alpine skiers mounting Freeheel Life skis down the road. Now, understand that it's only because I want their money. It has nothing to do with the loyalty to Telemark skiing.
Yeah,
so.
It's not, like on the surface, that comment sounds kind of backwards or like sacrilegious practically. But
yeah, that's what I mean.
But being able to kind of flip that status quo of, how many of you guys out there have, look in your quiver. What brands are those?
Yeah.
Do they do anything for us? No, but they got your money.
Yeah.
So your dollar is going towards that Alpine Pro Skiers contract and, demo days for Alpine skiers and more investment for the Alpine race team. And, that would kind of be the ultimate, like middle finger, I guess, to the Alpine world of, we're building a product for Telemark skiers. If you're an Alpine skier and want to buy it, cool. Now I have more money to invest into more Telemark stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's what I brought up yesterday when you and I were talking at work. And it's funny because if you try to explain it to people like, if you try to explain it like, hey, we're a Telemark company making skis, it's almost like people don't see the point, but if you say, hey, Alpine companies they make great skis that then Telemark skiers buy, everyone seems to agree with that. They're like, well, yeah, of course. And that's the disconnect. I think that for me is the ultimate objective, is helping people see the disconnect of what you just said. It's just, I know we're always preaching this, but ultimately it's where your money goes, and we want to see more companies like us, more companies like 22, more companies like, Bishop. Your money is going to go back to Telemark to help grow Telemark. And that's the only way this gets bigger, is just having, like we say, access to gear, having a rental fleet somewhere that people can try it. And, ultimately it's just a cool project that way. So, I guess we'll have to wait and see where that goes.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we'll focus on our closest allies.
Yeah,
so to speak.
absolutely. So. No, I'm not trying to get your skimo bro on my skis at the moment. I want to make sure that you have a pair first, but
maybe we'll have to make some schemo Telemark race ski. Like we've talked about that. We need to get the speed suit for someone. So if you're listening out there and you're like the fastest guy at your local uphill downhill, maybe we'll get a speed suit set up for you or something.
Maybe we'll cross that bridge later.
A wool speed suit.
Traditional.
Yeah. We'll send you some knickers and a sweater. Well, cool. Yeah, so skis are going well. We're having a good time with that. Like Tay said, we've got batch 1, which was the largest batch. Batch 2 and 3 are in the works. We're not talking about a lot of skis, but I think really the objective now, you'll probably see us release a couple skis at a time. I know I've got to kind of start cranking because I got to get some skis built for the shop. So we want, there's going to be skis in the shop essentially and skis to try. And there's a couple of our friends that out of state that have talked about having a pair or two in their demo fleets. So we'll keep you guys up to date on what all happens with that. Basically all depends on how fast I can go. So we'll
yeah, for sure. And we don't want to overpromise, under-deliver on that stuff, but the plan is that, thank you for all the pre-orders, but the plan is that we can get some stuff going where, we might just be releasing 5 skis at a time, but just to have those products in our shop where you could just walk in on a random Thursday afternoon and say, I'm due for a new pair of skis, and if we can get a pair of protectors mounted up for you, that's going to be a big success for us. We got to celebrate the small wins along the way.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, what with gear, I want to hear, now that you're clicked back into Freeheel Life mode and your brain is thinking about Telemark and not golf, although I'm sure golf was good. We should touch on that real quick. How was the golf season?
It was great. Yeah, I for those of you that don't know, I chasing that little white ball around the field completely occupies my brain in the summer. Like really occupies his brain.
I mean, yeah.
We
had to have like a decompression tank like the last few days where he came in, and then I just put him in front of a screen full of Telemark movies, and then basically like didn't let him out for like 48 hours, and then he comes out and he's like, "Oh, hey, I'm Telly Tay." But
yeah,
prior to that, it's
prior to that, it was teed up Tay for the last few months.
teed up Tay.
But it's like, yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason, Utah has a lot of activities that you can, spend half the year doing in the winter. In my case, teleskiing, and a lot of activities you can do in the summer. In my case, golf. I also spend most of the summer instructing golf.
Oh yeah.
Started to work through some of the PGA certifications, which is, a similar equivalent to like how the PSIA works with instruction. And, that's been a lot of fun. I spend a lot of time teaching junior golfers, which, I don't know, sounds kind of like maybe cliche and sappy, but it's like, I know how much fun I've had with that game. And, I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to kind of get a club in my hand when I was pretty young. Like mom and dad were golfers, grandma and grandpa were golfers. So it's kind of in the Johnson family. It's like, Telemark skiers, golfers, and Lutherans. That's pretty much the Johnson family. But, it's been fun to do that. It keeps me occupied. I really like being able to see, small successes with students of, just either figuring out how to hit a certain shot, or, maybe they, start to lower the score a little bit. And, I like to play. I mean, I play a lot. It's not just instruction. Allegedly like to play in men's leagues and stuff for cash. I don't know if I should say the word gambling. I think that's illegal, but yeah, you got to put something on it.
There's a wager of sorts.
There's a wager, yeah. And so that was fun. I was able to play a lot and shoot some good scores, and Miles and Nate, they also work at golf courses in the summer. I don't know. Most ski shops I think are like mountain bike guys or something, but a lot of golfers here at Freeheel Life.
That's super. That still weirds me out, man, because I have like no connection to golf. I understand the meticulous nature. I mean, that side of it totally makes sense. Like when you explain it to me, I get it. It's like this constant strive for perfection.
It's kind of like you say, like constant strive for perfection. That like triggers the same thing in my brain as teleskiing does, in like a very different way. Like when I'm skiing, right, it's high paced. It's potentially like high adrenaline of, flying down a technical face on the mountain, or, catching air. But kind of that like acknowledgement of, I am attempting to master a task that is kind of unmasterable. Like even if I ski the best line of my life, like there was still probably one turn where I was, I could have been a little more balanced there, or, I could have been a little faster getting into that, getting through that transition into that next turn. There's not necessarily a scorecard attached to teleskiing, but that same thing in my brain with golf is like, it's just, you're always trying to get better. And I think, I mean, maybe I'm just biased because that's the way my brain thinks, but I think that kind of general idea of like constantly trying to improve it's just like, seems like a good mindset for a lot of things. And, whether it's teleskiing, I'm always trying to improve. I never feel like this is as good as I possibly could be at the task. I'm always trying to get better. And I think that perspective might shift, like looking at my dad in his 60s or my grandfather in his 80s, like, we all certainly ski at different levels, but the motivation of like still trying to do your best and trying to improve is still there. And so it's like, it's cool that I can see that mindset as kind of a lifelong thing. And so, yeah, I mean, I spent all summer at the golf course, and, I was here working on tele stuff, every once in a while. And then definitely in the last, month or two, starting to get get a couple more days here, and then, as of about a week ago, it's like, bam, full time. Like Josh said, it took me two days or so to get like rewired into Freeheel Life mode, but we're back and we're pumped up for the winter, and I'll still hit a few golf balls before December rolls around and we really start skiing. But I mean, the fall is
it's going to switch quick.
It's going to switch pretty quick, and so
what do you think? I'm glad you're back, by the way.
Yeah, I'm stoked.
It's good to see. I can see the physical change of being ready for telly. Now, what I was gonna say before we kind of talked golf, and I'm glad you did talk about that, because I do like. I was thinking about today talking a little bit about getting into Telemark, but I think we can probably do a whole nother podcast on that, because I thought about a lot of the people. Like, summer's always a time where people start thinking about getting into it, and I think you kind of summed it up. I mean, I think tele golf, I mean, there's so many things where it requires that attention to detail and like constant striving for improvement, and I think that's awesome. And I think if you're listening out there, whether you're already telemarketing or you're going to get into it, I mean, if you've got that type of personality, kind of self improvement, I guess, is, for lack of a better way to put it. I mean, it's a great sport for that. What I was going to mention though is, we talked about skis and stuff, and I had a podcast a few episodes back talking about trends in telemark. I wanted to ask you about this is kind of specifically from the gear perspective, because with the shop, I mean, obviously people are coming here, they're thinking about their kit, they're trying to get dialed in for the season. But I always like talking to you because you're the data guy, and from last year going into this year, what do you there's not a lot of new, I mean, there's not really any new boots or bindings coming out currently, but what do you think, what's going to be like the number one seller? Where are people looking at, like, kind of like based on your experiences the last year or two, what do you think you're going to see in gear sales this year in terms of types of setups, and what are people looking for, and how may that help other folks that are maybe getting new gear, transitioning, or buying additional quiver stuff and whatnot?
I mean, I think I may sound like a broken record to some of you, because I'm just going to say Outlaw X. And not only is that my personal favorite and personal binding of choice, but I think, 22 Designs just did such a good job with that product, where it really, like, it checks all the boxes. There are certainly other products that might do one thing slightly better, or, another thing in a slightly different way that seems more user-friendly to you or whatever. But I think, NTN is here to stay. There's still applications for other types of stuff, because at the moment I think a lot of the NTN is, focuses at least on a powerful downhill experience. But I think Outlaw X, TX Pro, and if we can make them fast enough, I think the Protector would be the setup. But I think with those trends, at this point, it's NTN is not as new as new Telemark norm would lead you to believe.
We should change that at some point.
Yeah, I mean, you've talked about that, how at some point it's probably just going to be called a Telemark binding, and that's just what it is. But I think, Outlaw X, it's very resort capable binding. It has a good and simple touring mechanism. It's not the lightest binding, it's not the heaviest binding, but it just kind of, for that meat of the bell curve, it checks the boxes. So, that has been our number one seller over the last couple of years, and I'm not really expecting that to change. Not that other products might do something better for you. Certainly if you do spend a lot of time with skins on, the Tecto stuff has been cool to see improve in the last couple of years. At the end of last season, I actually spent a lot of days on the Lynx. I had certainly skied the Lynx before, but I mounted a pair of Lynxes to my Protector prototypes, and was shredding on them, which was kind of fun. Like, I think, if you're gonna be spending more of your time backcountry skiing, but it might be like this kind of like overlap ski where it's like, yeah, it's kind of my backcountry ski, but I'll take it to the resort a day or two. Like, that Lynx doesn't really scare me for that usage. I think if you're not doing much uphill, it's an unnecessary technology for you, but NTN is here to stay, and 22 Designs has been killing it.
Yeah. As you were talking, it got me thinking, what's interesting is that, because I think people would be surprised, like, we always say this. I often wonder if people actually believe when we say that Tecto isn't necessarily the future of all bindings, and there's a reason that we tend to go that route, because people just don't get them as often as an Outlaw X, for instance. It makes me wonder, as people get into Telemark, though, the whole Tecto and touring in the backcountry, accessing the backcountry through Telemark in the early 2000s and whatnot, it makes me wonder in the future, like, what it's going to look like. Will Telemark skiers as a whole tour less? Like, that's kind of like part of their side gig, but not their main one. And we've said, like, the bulk of people, there's a lot of resort Telemark skiers, but yeah, it kind of makes me wonder if 5-10 years down the road, as a new generation gets into it, if they're not necessarily getting into Telemark really for backcountry skiing, and so maybe we start seeing just more and more Outlaw X style bindings. Like, you look at the BMF, Outlaw. What would it look like if you had a Majo without Tecto, or anything like that, like where you didn't even worry about the tour mode?
Yeah, I think that trend of historically of Telemark being a method to access the backcountry, or at least that messaging was there, through the 90s, 2000s, that we have talked about that's not necessarily like new Telemark skiers' motivation, right? There's other ways to access the backcountry and go explore the mountains, via your own 2 feet. But Telemark being, in my mind, about the down, like, I choose Telemark equipment because I like the Telemark turn and the freedom that being on tele gear gives me. I certainly can go backcountry skiing with my Telemark kit, but I think that probably is going to be a trend to a certain degree, because, let's also face it, is a Tecto is a complicated piece of engineering that costs money.
Yeah.
Like, the Tecto bindings are more expensive. So if we're getting more people into Telemark and growing the sport through the down, which is likely going to be through resort skiing, because you can, smash 10,000 vert on the lift pretty fast compared to how fast you can smash 10,000 vert in the backcountry. So it's like, I think from a cost perspective, right? Like, if the binding is simpler, if it has less parts, if it has less moving parts, if it takes less, engineering. I'm not an engineer, but it seems like a lot easier to make a toe cage versus a Tecto. It seems like that's an easier project to design, an easier project to assemble, easier project to, build, where getting someone into, like, I think it'd be super, super cool if, if I had if I had a resort version of one of those types of bindings that, Outlaw X, give me the most bare bones version that has just, a toe cage and a claw and a set of brakes. And if I could get that down to, if that was a $300 binding, like that makes a new gear purchase for somebody getting into the sport where they just want to learn the turn and the technique. It just makes it easier. Certainly there's other ways to get into Telemark without, spending $400 or $500 on a binding, $700 on a boot, $700 on a ski, if you're just curious about trying it. But having simpler, also meaning cheaper new products would, I think, only benefit the sport. You might buy the entry level binding, like maybe I guess a Vice would work as that, other than the compatibility of it's limiting you to one fastening device, aka 75 millimeter, versus NTN with some of the other stuff. But if I had the ability to get someone into kind of a basic, like entry level NTN binding, that may be their introduction to the sport. And then once they master, or master the unmasterable turn, once they get proficient with the turn, then they might be, oh, well, I do want to go explore the mountains via the backcountry. So, well, now I will go for that more, premium price tagged product like a Lynx or a Majo, and I get extra features. There's other things it does, but, I think trend of simpler and potentially cheaper products would only be a benefit to our sport, just because it brings that barrier of entry down. And the motivation of like college kids or high school kids, the kind of new blood in Telemark that Freeheel Life helps get people into the sport. We certainly have a crowd of younger people that, their motivation to try Tele was just because, oh man, I saw some dude ripping a turn and it looked cool. They might not even have the, historical record of, oh, that used to be the only way to access the backcountry. And, it's like, yeah, it's a dying thing because nobody wants to have to learn that hard thing to just go ski in the backcountry anymore. And
that almost seems like it's dead at this point. I mean, you're going to age out of that, people even knowing that stuff.
Yeah, like if you were, T2, right? He's 19, so he's younger than the Targa. Like by the time he actually got onto tele gear, he probably started on a T1 and probably started on a Vice or a Hammerhead or something like that, where it's like, that's just, he doesn't know any different, and he doesn't know the history. Now after having worked in a winter for us here, like a young kid like that is going to learn a lot about the history of the sport. But, it's like what his perception of Telemark is not, or just like, it's not going to be that, oh yeah, back in the, 90s when we first got that, T2 boot, we could, go for miles in the backcountry, and we could ski any snow condition, and we could do these big days because we had a waterproof shell. And, that's just like so not funny. His thought process.
It's funny that you're bringing that up, because it's almost like the disservice to, this happens in everything in life, but it's almost specifically to Telemark, it's almost a disservice to the turn itself when the older people that are passionate about it are in positions of decision making. They're older. And so I think that they tend to gravitate to two things. The old people gravitate to the history that they've experienced, or they try to look at younger people and they try to think, oh, hey, we need to do that in order to get youth to do this. To give you an example, like old Telemark skiers, when a lot of times when you talk to people, or people I know that are maybe even a little older than me, that tends to be the thing. They're like, we gotta figure out how to make gear that's better for the backcountry, for instance. Or the classic one that always makes me kind of giggle in my brain or out loud, depending on the conversation, is like the idea of like, look at park skiing. We got to get more Telemark park skiers. And so it's like they don't know anything about, they know about the old backcountry. Like you said, like, oh yeah, back in the day when we got plastic boots for the first time, which no young person is going to really care about. Or they try to start talking about something that they think is popular amongst young people, but they don't understand. And they think that those are the only two routes to get to it. I would argue that really what leads, tell me what your thoughts are, but these are the two things I think bring people to Telemark. Totally, in all honesty, across the board, 2021, intrigue. Like you see somebody and you're just like, wow, that looks cool. Or boredom. And like, I think those are literally stronger cases for getting into Telemark than like the latest fad in park skiing or whatever, or backcountry. It's like, I think we meet tons of young people. Like we always say, we've joked around in bad snow years here. I always say, like, if it's a good snow year, all the telemarkers come and buy stuff because it's a powder day and it's awesome. But honestly, some of the good years is when it's a low tide year and you see all these young people that work at the resorts and they're bored because there's no powder days and they're actually willing to sacrifice time to go try telemark because the snow's not good. Because it's harder to convince people when it's nuking. Nobody wants to go try something new.
Yeah, nobody wants to spend the day face planning when it's 2 feet of bottomless, fresh pow. Like,
no, it's usually, honestly, I feel like having a bad snow year is actually better for telemark. As dumb as that sounds,
I agree with you on those two of intrigue and boredom. It's like, I have to separate my thinking sometimes is like what attracts people to it, because I kind of just didn't know any better. If you guys have listened to any other podcasts or, with me or just know me, like you kind of know my story of, I practically didn't have a choice. Like I was kind of like born into it and it's like in the blood. So that's fine. But like, yeah, boredom. I don't know. Sometimes people ask you the question of like why do you do it, or like what's better?
What's better? That's my.
And it's like I don't. Like,
that's my favorite question.
Man. Like it's just like it provides a different set of challenges. It's different. I think there's, certainly your skill level is going to play into this, but I don't think there's really much that a proficient telemark skier can't do on the equipment. We can still ski, extreme faces. We can, there's skiers like Ty Dayberry that can, do double cork 10s and, whatever other like double flip, triple spin type rotations he's willing to do. Like there's not a lot that's going to hold you back. And that boredom factor, you're right. Like I'm not hoping for a bad winter, right? Like I want to ski pow and get a bunch of snow, but the silver lining of a bad winter is that people do get bored and they're willing to try something new. And I think telemark, like golf, the moment you make one good telemark turn where you had good weighting on that back foot and you arced it together and you made a smooth lead change and you got into that next turn, like if your first day on tellies, if you only make one turn that was like, oh, that was what I was supposed to do, I could do that again, you're hooked. I see this with golf students where if they hit one shot where they hit the center of the club face, the club face was square to their target line and that ball flies high in the air straight at their target line, that moment is like, oh, I could do that again. And that hooks you. You're trying to now do that again and achieve that moment of, bliss or being in the zone or whatever way, any sort of athlete might talk about, doing that activity. But it's like, if your first day on tellies or your first week on tellies, if you work a couple, if you link a couple turns together, now you have that kind of, you have that like hit of like dopamine or whatever that is like, oh, that was good. Okay, I could do that again. And if you have that personality that's willing to put in a little work to get a reward of, it's satisfying, right? Like it's satisfying to like smash a bump line and be in balance and in rhythm. It's satisfying to drop into a turn and that snow just, barrels over your head. It's satisfying to, absolutely flush a 7-iron and, knock it to 5 feet and make the putt. Like getting that satisfaction out of that is I think what people get hooked on. That first step might be a little scary because it's I don't want to be a newbie again, but I think probably being a newbie at something is probably good for you again.
Oh yeah, no, I think you nailed it. It's like that window. The window to getting people in is, if we're trying to get new people into Telemark, it's incredibly important that there's that window. And when that window appears, like a bad snow year, if you want to use that as the example, they got to have the tools available to go do the thing in that window. Like that has to line up, because if it doesn't line up, you're going to miss.
You might have missed it. And, to be honest, people are kind of lazy and they're ready. They need that like instant gratification. So, if you're bored and you're like, oh yeah, my buddy says Telly's kind of cool, let me go try that. And if you can't find equipment, or you don't know, or the equipment's confusing or expensive, or, there's nowhere to try it, like, we probably missed you, unfortunately. And,
yep.
That's a problem that, at least here we're trying to solve. And, there's other places where, we have goals to try and make equipment more accessible to people just in general. But, if you got an extra pair of boots kicking, extra setup in your garage or something, like, please, like, let your friend take it. Oh, they wear the same size boot as you? Perfect. Like, just let them take it out for a day and see if they can flail around with it, or, provide a mode of guidance. Or, I think with Dusty, I think we talked about like mentorship in Telemark, and don't be afraid of that calling. If somebody wants to do it, and okay, maybe you're not a certified instructor, or know the best way to describe what you're trying to do. Sometimes even just being there with someone, like a lot of people learn visually. So if I see, if I had never tellied before and you wanted to take me telly skiing, you have a lot of, repetitions with Telemark. You have been an instructor, so you might be a different case. But even if it was just like, okay, you just go ski it, let me watch you, right? Like I'm going to try and digest, okay, visually, what did he look like? Maybe I ask you a couple questions, like, where were you trying to put your weight here? Or how are you trying to, make that lead change? Even just a couple little pointers, I think can go a long way. You don't have to be a professional instructor to give someone, maybe one little tip that helps it click with them. But I think, having that opportunity to like get someone new into the sport it's a cool moment.
Yeah, no, for sure. You hit on the other thing that I think goes along with this is you got to have the right timing, you got to have the right window, and like none of that really the glue to that whole thing is, I want to call it community, because that's really what it is. But there's I think with the young people there's a certain level of good peer pressure in a way, and community around it, because again, for you to one, get that little hit that you're talking about to where you're like, I'm hooked. I got to keep doing this. You got to have a good support system. And I think listen to everyone's stories that we talk to, man. It's like somebody's homie loaned them some gear. They tried it. And then there's like, once you got 2 guys or girls at a resort, then there's a third. Then there's a fourth. I mean, look at when you guys go shred on a Monday at Alta, there's a certain level of that camaraderie, because then you're willing to try new things. You don't feel stupid. I think that's why I was saying, like, on a powder day, if I had to put my money on it, and there's a young, really good alpine skier or snowboarder, and they get that opportunity, and it's like a deep day, the last thing they want to do is not keep up with their friends, fall on their face a million times, and then get ridiculed with all the awesome Telemark jokes that exist. And then they're probably never going to do it again. I don't even know if they'll make it out that day. So I think, that support system's huge, and I think that's what we tried to do here too, is like create at least a shop support system where people, like we say, people literally call us from all over the place for their Telemark therapy sessions. I don't think we're qualified for actual therapy, but we do an okay job.
It's not a clinical therapy session, but we can do our best. Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point about community. It's like, just with kind of the shop crew and, our friends and associates within, our local community, like, that's been really fun for me to see kind of grow, not only with the shop growing and hiring more people and, getting more and more people onto tele gear. But I mean, when I first started, volunteering for you and then working for you, I mean, I knew a few of the tele people, and I felt like, there were a couple out there that we might get a 2 or 3 man crew together every once in a while. But I mean, I was skiing solo a lot when I first started working for you, and to go to last season where it's like, we showed up on a Monday, shop was closed, everybody was skiing. Next thing we know, we got like a mob of 9-10 tele people, and then it started attracting like our alpine friends were coming to ski with us, and they were the black sheep. They were the only one on fixed heel stuff. Like that kind of community energy, I think, is going to breed and inspire those alpine skiers that want to come hang with us and ski with us to, oh, well, you guys think that's pretty fun. Maybe I should try it.
Yeah. And then you have access to gear for them.
And we got access to gear for them, and we can get them out, and it's just been fun to see, and like, it's the young blood energy is a good energy just in general. Like, the stoke factor's high. They're having a lot of fun with it. They're learning something new, and young kids are willing to send it. They're willing to push themselves a little bit. They're willing to see, well, I could, on my alpine skis, I could do a big backflip off that cliff. Could I do it on my tele skis?
Yep.
Some of them are going to try it, and
some are going to do it,
and some are going to land. Some are going to face plant. But that's just cool to see with that community aspect. So, trends, I think, I feel like the energy is good. I feel like there's more new people getting into this sport. There's younger people, and that's really important, because if the demographic of our sport is just old hippie dudes or whatever, like, nothing wrong with you guys, but we need to get some young blood into the sport.
No, I love it. Well, I think that's a good spot to end on. That actually ended up, I know we were just kind of free flowing, but I think that ended up on a good note with, if you're thinking about getting into it, no matter what age you are, I would recommend, if you're the only person and you have gear, cool, go out and do it. But I think one cool thing that I feel fairly confident in saying is no matter where you are in the world, is if you go out on your tele gear and you are trying to find someone to help you, I would bet money on it 100% of the time. If you go up to another Telemark skier that you do not know at your local hill and you just say, hey, can I take a couple runs? I'm just learning. Almost guaranteed that a tele skier is going to be cool. And you hear stories about that all the time. You know, people getting into the sport, they need that mentorship. They need a friend. You know, they want someone to ski and watch and riff off of. I think that's the coolest part. So I think as we head into the season, I think that's a really cool note to end on is, be that person at your local hill, invite people to go teleski. If you got an extra setup of gear that fits them, share it with them. If there's a rental place, awesome. Go do that. If you live in Salt Lake, come by here if you have questions. I think that's really the best way to grow it. And, I won't, I'll hope for a deep year. I don't want you guys to have a non-snow year, but yeah, it's my hope that a lot more people will try it and they understand that there's a sense of community and they can, find help and resources, whether it's calling us at the shop or finding someone at their local hill. There's always that one guy or girl that's telemarking somewhere at the resorts everywhere. So, yeah. I hope that's the case, and hopefully we'll see it keep growing this year.
Yeah, for sure.
You got any closing thoughts?
Awesome stuff. Thanks for having me. Good chatting and I mean, we talked about skis, new product, opening the shop, and getting more people into tele. That's kind of the ultimate goal. And go toss me a follow on Instagram at TeleK.
I like how you always get your plug in there. That's awesome. You gotta. Well, I really appreciate Tay coming on this morning. This was kind of our first thing, and nice and caffeinated, ready to start the day. Hopefully you guys are having a great Monday out there and starting to think about the winter. Like Tay said, October 9th, I think we said that. We're going to be opening the shop here in Salt Lake City. Products starting to show up in September. So stay tuned to the website, social media. Everything's going to be getting restocked. Like we said, there's that notify button on each product. So if you have a specific product that you're interested in and want to get in the queue, so you make sure that you're one of the first ones to get notified about when that product gets restocked. It could be parts or lifestyle stuff, boots, bindings, Protector skis. You can always email the crew, customer service at freeheellife.com. There is a waiting list for those skis. Like we said, we're going to be kind of trickling them out over the season in small batches of, a couple to 5, and hopefully have some in the shop. So I'll keep the gears turning in the ski shop, building stuff until then. So, as always, we would love to be your preferred Telemark shop. You can shop with us at freeheellife.com. We ship worldwide, and happy to answer your questions. Like I said, customer service at freeheellife.com. You can always hit up our sister site, telemarkskier.com, for the latest articles, gear reviews, and much, much more on there. If you aren't a subscriber, we would love for you to become one. It's $39.97 a year or $3.99 a month. That helps us produce that content, and we're going to be gearing up more and more of that content as we kind of head into the fall. We've been kind of trickling it out over the summer to keep the blood flowing, and we would love to see you over there as well. And you can always email me direct at podcast@freeheellife.com. Thanks for listening, everybody, and thanks for Tay for being here. And until next week, spread Telemark always, my friends. Peace out.